Welcome to Our Creative North, the show that celebrates the creative and digital media sector right here in the north of England. At Creative North, we've got one mission, and that is to make our creative and digital media sector equal to London, if not better. And at Creative North, we believe that we need to celebrate what's on our own doorstep. This month, I'm really excited to tell you that we've partnered with UK Trade and Investment to promote everything about exporting. Now, you may think that exporting is just a car and a ship somewhere, but actually, you're probably already doing it. If you are selling a product or a service to an international company and trading in different foreign currencies, that's what you're doing. You're exporting. Now, we're on a mission to really get the north of England on the map. Because a lot of businesses from outside of the UK, internationally, when they think of creative and digital, they think of London, and that's wrong. We have got some of the best creative and digital media businesses based right here, and I'm on a mission to help promote your business, this region, and the creative digital media sector outside of the UK. Let's see what we can do.
Right, so now on to hard facts. The North East has once again proved its brilliance as latest figures show a year-on-year rise of 7.24% in exports as opposed to a fall of 3.89% nationally. Well done us! And the latest figures that we have from 2004 show that we have exported £3.289 billion worth of goods, which is an 8.21% increase of the 250 million from the same period of the previous year. And the North East also remains the only region in the country with a consistent positive balance. Exports greater than imports, that's what that means, with a reported figure of 4.45 billion. Now, the creative industries in this country contribute a huge amount to the economy, and we're growing faster than any other section, 10% in 2012. So the North East exporting is going up and growing faster than any other sector, and the creative industry is also massively growing. Why can't these things happen together?
So you've heard the facts, but we need to put our money where our mouth is. So we're going to visit UKTI and find out what they do and how exporting to benefit your business, and more importantly, this region.
So off the Creative North crew went to the government. Well, not really the government, it was Sunderland Software City, where we got to meet advisor for UK Trade and Investment, Simon Crosby.
I'm Simon Crosby. I'm a lead international trade advisor with UK Trade and Investment. UKTI is the lead government organisation that helps companies sell their products and services overseas. I head up the team for Northumberland, North Tyneside and Newcastle, and I head up a team of advisors that works with businesses to help them realise their exporting potential. We work with businesses of all different sizes, but it is fair to say that most of the companies we work with are SMEs. I would say 85-90% of the businesses we work with are small or medium-sized businesses. And part of our role is missionary work. What we need to do is we need to get more companies in the region exporting. So a lot of what we do is trying to persuade businesses who aren't exporting that selling overseas is actually quite a good idea. We're in it for the long haul. UKTI, we don't come in and help a company export for the first time and then leave them alone. We help them export for the first time, and then we're looking to see, right, which other country can we take the business into next. I think some companies don't export because they don't realise there are opportunities out there that meet their products or services, and I think that some companies don't export because they don't think they've got an exportable product or a service. We also see businesses not exporting because they're frightened of the journey. They don't know where to start in terms of contacts. They're worried about how much it's going to cost. They're worried about making expensive mistakes. So what we're trying to do is take all of those issues and help the client overcome them. Legal and financial issues do put some businesses off exporting, but again, it needn't be complicated. You know, we've got something like 1,500 regular exporters in the northeast of England. These are companies who are invoicing an overseas client at least once a month. So, you know, what that demonstrates is there's lots of businesses out there exporting to the USA, for example, which is our biggest export market in the region. We took a trade mission to Boston last December, and on that trade mission, think there must have been, there were 15 or 16 companies in total, and I think half of them were from the creative sector. The sector itself is hugely important for Britain's exports, for the UK's exports. I know that it's hugely important for the regional economy, and I know that there is a growing number of companies in the northeast of England in the sector who are looking towards overseas markets.
So as much as the government can bang the drum of exporting, we wanted to go to somebody who's doing it the right way. Jason Knight from Blue Kangaroo, based right here in Gateshead.
My name is Jason Knight and I'm the Managing Director with Blue Kangaroo Design. Blue Kangaroo Design is a design company which specialises in the character licensing industry. So we work with companies around the world, from Australia, India, North America, mainland Europe. We're a design company who probably most people have never heard of. Even within our industry, most people have never heard of. And the reason behind that is purely for confidentiality for the work we do for our clients. Creative exporting is like exporting any product. So, the only difference is we don't physically export a box. We export creativity from the Northeast. People in the Northeast don't realise that the talent we've got up here. We've got many good local companies. So we made a decision about 2 years ago that we would cast our net further afield. So we're still dealing with the same sort of people. We're still talking to them every day. We're still doing design work. It's just further afield. For a couple of years, I kept saying to my business partner, we need to branch into America, because America's where I'd say the majority of our customers are based, their head offices. And we talked about it, and one thing and another, never really pushed it. And then one night I was sitting at home and I thought, I'm going to email this guy who was a vice president of creative for this company globally. So he didn't get much higher than this guy. So I sat watching the telly and I emailed him, and it was about the 14th of May I emailed him. And I sent him an email and just said, just so you know, I'm in LA on the 21st. It'd be brilliant to pop and see you. I had no intention to be in LA at all. 10 minutes later, he emailed me back and said, yeah, it'd be great. And he CC'd in his PA, and they set up this appointment. So I was sitting there thinking, right, well, in 8 days, I've now got to go to Los Angeles. So what I did was I then looked at other customers who we had contacts with in the UK, and I just started making phone calls and emails. And that night I emailed 3 people and got 3 appointments. One was in LA, one was in San Francisco, and one was in New York. It was a structured thing. We knew what we wanted to do, but that night was just the catalyst to get one appointment. And once you've got one appointment, you've got to make it worth your while. Do your homework and know everything about the people that you're going to see. Not just the company, but the people you're going to see. There's nothing worse than going into a meeting and not knowing who you're going to see, who the other people are, and what the whole business does. So knowledge is the best part of your sales pitch. I think you've got to first of all believe in what you're doing. Secondly, don't undersell yourself. We export because we can do what we say we can do. You've got to believe in yourselves. Know your market. You've got to be. You can't just be a design agency and say, right, well, I'm going to go off to, Russia and export design, because there's any amount of design agencies. So know your market. If you're in the oil and gas industry, do that. If you're in furniture or bespoke, whatever, then just make sure that you're selling to your niche market. We've got a very good relationship with the UKTI. I'll be totally honest, if it wasn't for a guy called John Doolan at the UKTI, we would never have gone into export. We signed up for the passport to export scheme, and John made it so easy. And I remember sitting with him saying to him, a bit worried about this, a bit panicky, and he was like, just do it. And he guided us through the process. We don't use them for everything. We're not interested in certain aspects of what they do, because we don't need to go on a market visit to Russia or whatever. We know what we're doing, but we get support in other areas. The most important thing that any company can do in exporting is go and meet your customers, sit in front of them. I spend 6 weeks in the summer just going around existing customers in America. We're lucky we've got customers in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Las Vegas, New York, Chicago. So it's a case of going and sitting in front of them. You might not be there to get briefed on work, but that face-to-face contact is what they really like. And we found that we've developed customers literally just by going for a cup of coffee. I would never say to anybody, you must export, because we didn't do it for a long time and we were fine. We've just exported because we saw our market dwindling a little bit. So you don't have to export, but if you do it properly. Don't go into it with your eyes half open.
It's great to see the support that UKTI are putting into helping create the digital media businesses in this region, and to meet someone like Jason who's doing it right now is fantastic to see. Now after the break I'm going to get some more great minds round a table in a focus group to find out what we as a region can do to really celebrate our creative and digital media and our exporting capacity. See you after the break.
So a quick recap, a special on our Creative North where we're going into the world of exporting. Now Rob's come to Durham Cricket Ground to have a chat with a focus group of great minds.
Do you know what? I'm really excited. In there we've got some of the best minds to giving us top tips and advice about exporting in the north of England. And you as a creative business should be listening to this, so let's go and find out a little bit more about what they've got to say.
Amongst these great minds, Jason Knight from Blue Kangaroo, Jean-Pierre Van Zyl from Square One Law, Stephen Slater for RMT Accountants, Paul&Sam from Paul&Sam, Dean Murray, another solicitor from Square One Law, and Ian Howard, our UK Trade and Investment representative. We apologise for any sound issues you're having here, and if you are a sound engineer, then please apply to aup@creativenorth.org.
We've set ourselves a bit of a mission with UKTI because one of the frustrating things we're finding in Creative North and what we're finding is that not enough companies within the north of England are celebrating what they're doing.
The problem we have is, in the past we had one northeast who were doing this, big passionate about the local area, but then you've got small companies starting up who haven't got money to shout about themselves. And we've got nobody, none of the local authority, UKTI do a really good job with it, but there's nobody shouting about, we've got all this talent in the northeast.
A lot of people think creative and digital media, it's just a lot of frantic people running around like headless chickens. I mean, do you find that is the case, or I mean, what's
No, not really. I think creative and digital business is a business like any other, and it needs to make sure that it's getting paid for what it does. Otherwise it won't be around very long. And I'm sure everyone around the table knows that.
The pool of talent in the northeast is too small, but good businesses are still able to attract good quality talent.
The problem we have in the northeast is all the big companies think that they've got to use London agencies because they're London agencies.
Can you just tell us what is exporting and why?
Yeah.
And why would a creative digital media company even think about that?
You came along here today to try and find out whether what you do is an export, whether it's exportable, and absolutely. And I think there used to be a problem with some of the literature that UKTI used to publish, in that a lot of the imagery was around container ports and cranes and dockside, and it all looked like boxes and containers of stuff moving around the world. And as I said before, absolutely not the case with my client base in Newcastle. I've got one client that actually makes something. There's another couple of engineering companies that I've done some work with, but by far the majority are marketing agencies, games developers, a band.
So, in terms of UKTI, creative and digital media, we've established what the creative and digital media sector is in this region. It sounds like it's quite an exciting time for the North in terms of the sector. Why are UKTI wanting to encourage more creative and digital media businesses to export? And how do you set out, not necessarily a mission, but how do you see that sort of expanding?
Yeah, I think as we identified before, there is a problem with creative industries not realising that what they do is either already exporting or an exportable service. So this week is actually Export Week within the region and in fact across the country. So there's a number of events happening this week, and hopefully we're going to be able to engage with the creative sector a lot more this week and across the month.
If you could take a few years back, with what you know now, what would you have changed differently? Not necessarily the approach, but in terms of the knowledge that you had. Was there any other knowledge that would have helped you, or for example, these guys when they want to go off and
No, it's nothing. I'll tell you why it's nothing, because I think if I'd have gone in a bit more polished and a bit more, clever, it might not have worked.
Right.
I think the fact that we're a typical northeast company. We're not pretentious. We're not we don't try and be something we're not. We just go and we are who we are. There's nothing I'll change. Nothing at all. I might have done it a few years earlier, but it's just getting over that initial fear.
In regards to your clients, Stephen, at RMT, is it something you actively encourage clients to think about exporting their service within this sector?
Well, I think it comes back to something that JP said earlier on. It's about knowing what your product is and knowing where you want to sell it. So if you're trying to achieve scale in your business, then obviously exporting is a way to do that. So it really depends upon what your goals and ambitions are for your business.
How do we encourage, and why should we be encouraging creative businesses to start thinking of this?
As we've heard from these guys, if you focused on the UK alone, you're severely limiting your potential customer base. The world is out there, and if you can sell to as many of them as possible, then you'll be a more successful business.
How do we encourage more people to export, and how do we engage with both people abroad and also the businesses in our region?
The way to win that business from elsewhere in the UK is actually to go and win some export business first. If you can carry that as a kind of a badge and say, look, I've done this for this company, big companies that Jason's working with, and say, look, I do all of their work. Who in London's going to look at you and say, well, you haven't got the skills, you haven't got the ability to do the work for me if you're already doing the work for these big multinationals in the States?
You're working with international clients. How do we start celebrating that and getting businesses from outside the region realising actually we are working with some top clients internationally?
And I'm a great believer that you don't sit back and rely on a government agency to go out there and bang the drum. You've got to go and do it yourself. You've got to make it happen for yourself.
Didn't really come up with a strategy, to be honest. It was a case of dealing with our existing customers and finding out who their counterparts were in America, sent the odd email, connected on LinkedIn, and just persevered, really. Didn't have a strategy set in stone or anything. It was when we got that first appointment that my world seemed to collapse and change around me. And I thought, right, now we've got to do this properly.
As a start of business, or a business, inverted commas, new to exporting, what would get you to think, actually, I should start considering this, I should start coming along and finding out more?
I would never have thought of our company as being a company that exports. Even though we work with clients overseas, I've never seen that as exporting. Because again, as I was saying before, I've always thought of that as a big tanker with crates on, filled with cars, taking them abroad. But obviously, yeah, you can export a service. And I don't know, maybe there's other businesses out there who are quite new who don't think of it as the same way as well.
Bigger clients, more money, and it's as easy as trading in the UK, you'd do it. Yeah.
Here are some of the key points to take away from the amazing focus group. So Dean Murray said, if you focus on the UK alone, you're severely limiting your potential customer base. Rob Earnshaw said, what we're finding is not enough companies within the north of England are celebrating what they're doing. Ian Howard from UKTI said, there is a problem with creative industries not realising what they do is either already exporting or an exportable service. Jean-Pierre Van Zyl from Square One Law said, the pool of talent in the northeast is too small, but good businesses are still able to attract good quality talent. One of the things Jason Knight said was, you've got small companies starting up who haven't got money to shout about themselves. Stephen Slater from RMT Accountants said, it's about knowing what your product is and knowing where you want to sell it. Paul from Paul&Sam said, I would never have thought of our company as being a company that exports.
Do you know what? That focus group was absolutely fantastic. The information and guidance those guys gave was invaluable. And it's really, really fired me up to get you guys, our creative and digital media sector in this region, exporting. Join us next week and we're going to be trying to spread the word and hopefully get you guys involved. But let's finish off with some thoughts from the guys we just met.
So for us, it was really helpful in that we were kind of newbies at the table. We were getting lots of advice from seasoned people that had been through it before, as well as the legal and financial side of things, which Paul and I are very new to as well. So it was really helpful for us.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting actually. It was interesting to hear the two different business perspectives between the startup and the established exporter, and it was nice to hopefully share some useful information with them.
It was interesting to hear that companies are actually already exporting but don't recognise that they do, and that's something for us to build on, to harness that and help them to increase their exports. Because I think by understanding that you're already doing it, it removes the fears that a lot of people have. It's this fear of the unknown. But once they realise that actually they're already doing it and doing it successfully, then they can do an awful lot more of that.
Interesting also that those who export are positive about their experience of exporting and often can't understand why others aren't exporting and, you know, why they're apprehensive.
I actually find out that we export. We deal with companies in the States, and because it's a service, exporting I've always seen as you build a product and then you ship that off to somewhere. As a service, I've never seen that as exporting, so to know that we're exporting probably gives us more confidence now to know that we can do some more.